All right, everybody, here we are for episode 48 of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. Here in my garage is Wayne Yerke. Wayne, how's your week been?
It's been a good week. Enjoying the last vestiges of the weekend before we start another Monday.
Yep. Memorial Day is coming up, so next big holiday on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be grilling, going to be getting together. Still, I know everyone's getting vaccinated. Wear your mask if you need to. If you don't, if it's a small group of people, feel free not to. That's that's what the CDC says. But just be precautious because you can still get it and stuff, even if you have it and pass it on to other people. But I'm glad to see the world is somewhat getting back to a better place.
Absolutely. And as we celebrate Memorial Day and we start to see each other again and we have our barbecues and our gatherings, let's just stop, pause, and remember why we have Memorial Day. For the soldiers that gave their lives to defend our country, to give us the freedoms that we had.
Exactly.
Just be, internally grateful and thankful to these men and women. And, just give a pause, give a minute just to, reflect on that sacrifice.
Yeah, for sure. Enjoy your family if you get to be with family this coming, not this weekend, but next week, it'll be this coming weekend when this episode airs.
It would be great to share this podcast with your family and friends while you're cooking.
Exactly. So this week we are going to get into Netflix originals, Wayne. We're going to talk about some of their great content they have. Netflix has kind of taken over the market of digital media when it comes to TV and film.
Yep.
And everyone else is trying to catch up.
Oh, yeah, man. HBO Max is hot on their trails, but they still got some ways to catch up to the revolutionary, I don't can't even think of the correct term to define what Netflix is and what it has become. And the fact that, I will continue to point this out, Blockbuster could have owned Netflix if they had made wiser decisions.
They just didn't, some people didn't have that vision that this was going to work out. Yeah. And Netflix saw something. They knew things were going to go online, so they started small with their DVDs. You could rent DVDs from Netflix.com, and then they slowly branched out, and then they decided they just dropped Netflix streaming service on us, and voila. Now everyone's trying to catch up. And one of their first major shows, the first show they ever did was Lilyhammer. Now, Lilyhammer wasn't a Netflix original in the way that a lot of their other shows are, because it was produced by another company and was sold to Netflix. But that was their first original. Their first real original is Stranger Things.
Yes.
And Stranger Things, created by the Duffer Brothers in 2016.
The phenomenon
of Stranger Things. It brought nostalgia back to our entertainment in a way that I think 80s and 90s kids have been craving. It really spoke to us. It reminded us of the Goonies and Gremlins and just everything. You could tell the Duffer Brothers grew up on the same stuff that we grew up on.
The first episode of season 2. What are the 4 kids dressed up as? The Ghostbusters.
And the Ghostbusters, exactly. You have the raincoat from It. You have just everything that was like total 80s or 90s is just thrown into that show. But it's not cheap. They do it in a way that it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's such a great show. It was a great way to showcase all this young talent. It brought Winona Ryder back to kind of popularity.
Yes, the revitalization, sort of revitalization or revamp or re-energizing, I think is probably the most accurate term to use of her career.
Yes.
I mean, it gave David Harbour a huge catapult into stardom, in my opinion.
For sure.
Millie Bobby Brown, I mean, she was talked about for her performance on the NCIS episode where she plays the child sociopath, where she ended up killing her mother to bring her father home from the military.
Wow.
And just the way she stole every scene in that one episode.
Yeah.
And just the deadpan stare of not caring, the cold, sourceless, soulless, just wow.
Yeah.
Then when I heard she was going to be starring in this Stranger Things, I'm like, okay, yeah, this girl's good. And obviously she's gone on to do, the Holmes and
the Godzilla movies.
Yeah,
her career is, she's young, so it's really still just starting, even though it started off fantastic.
I mean, Finn Wolfhard. He's
Yep.
been in any number of things. And then the other guys, Caitlin Matazzaro and Kayla McLaughlin, Natalia Dyer, Charlie Heaton, Joe Curvey. Curry.
Joe Curry, yeah.
Curry.
Matthew Modine, obviously another 80s guy. Sean Astin, another 80s actor in 90s.
Bob Newby, superhero, yes, sir.
Paul Reiser. You got
Billy. The bad guy.
Yeah. Dacre Montgomery, yes.
Yes.
Dacre Montgomery from the Power Rangers movie, yes. He was great as Billy in the 2 seasons he was in. Great character, great actor. Maybe interested to see more things from him.
Yes.
Maya Hawke, who is Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter.
She has been one of the most fantastic additions to this.
Her brother is coming in season 4, so I'm not sure. I don't think they're going to play siblings, so it'll be interesting what kind of character he plays.
As long as it's not a love interest, man, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, as long as they don't Star Wars
suspending the suspension of disbelief, but you know. All right, I got to ask one thing about this though. One of the criticisms of the show has been that each season has gotten progressively worse.
I disagree.
I think that if it has not gotten better, I don't know. I don't want to compare. I have loved each season, each 3 seasons for different reasons.
I think Andy and I, our past guest Andy Rohr, him and I were talking about this one time, and him and I both agreed that season 3 is actually better than season 2. Like it was a step up, and season 2 was great. And
absolutely,
season 3 I think is probably one of my my favorite. Maybe it's not. I mean, season 1's great, but
the first 2 seasons we got to make sure it takes place around Halloween in the fall. Yep. Everything's kind of dying and dreary. Winter is coming, and then they're just like, you know what? F it. We're doing season 3 over the 4th of July.
Yep.
Summer, it's bright, it's colorful. Everything. But guess what? We're still going to scare the god out of you.
Yes, and the kids, too, like, the kids are older now, too, in season 3. The character development in season 3 is so good.
Yep.
We finally get to see Will as not be, like, a pawn, which is nice. Because the first 2 seasons, season 1, he's barely there.
Yeah.
In season 2, he's a pawn the entire season because the
Mind Flayer.
Mind Flayer. So... Mind Flayer. Oh, knocked over my Pepsi, everybody.
Okay. I meant for lids, though. Because that went right for the laptop.
it would have destroyed us. But just so much happened in season 3. You get the redemption of Billy. Mm-hmm. You get these characters growing. The budgeting relationship between Millie Bobby Brown's 11 and Finn Wolfhard's Mike. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the drama, too, between the relationship. Like, oh, well. He shouldn't do that to you. He should do, this should be how it works. And her kind of coming into her own and figuring out how to be a human, kind of like a human teenager. I
think my favorite is definitely the Dustin and Nancy dancing at the end.
Yeah, Dustin and Nancy dancing at the end was fantastic.
He's rocking the mic hair, or not the mic hair, the Steve hair.
The Steve hair, yes.
Steve Harrington.
The whole Steve story, too, with Maya Hawke's character and Dustin was fantastic. They're the ones that kind of break the whole thing wide open in season 3 with the Russians. And then, of course, Brett Gelman, who we just saw in Without Remorse with Michael B. Jordan, playing the kind of crazy journalist that helps them, that they go to, that him and Hopper become good buddies. He was in season 2, I think, right? And then he had a bigger part in season 3.
Yes, Murray.
Yeah, Murray. And, he was great. And he had a bigger role in season 3.
How was the pullout? Buzzing!
Yes. That's a quote from season 2, everybody.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, be prepared to laugh.
If you haven't seen this show yet, I couldn't recommend a TV show more to somebody. Especially if you're our age and you grew up when we grew up. It really hits all those notes perfectly. The first season still, when she flips the van, like, it's just one of my favorite moments of the show. And then it's very ETS. Yes. And then when she goes to save them on the cliff too, when they're getting beat up by the bullies, that scene also fantastic.
For me, in season 3, it revolves around the mall, and one of my favorite movies is Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So that connection with the mall scenes is just like, It's
great too because there's a very big chopping mall homage in there as well. And Chopping Mall is a horror film from the 80s where these robots are made to be like the security, and they of course they go crazy and start killing people. So there is, I forget what the mention was, but I know there's a Chopping Mall reference in there, which is awesome because those little like horror movies don't always get the same nostalgia as all the bigger movies do. There's just there's so much in season 3 that really elevated it for me. I'm excited to see where season 4 is going. It sucks that we have to wait so long. The pandemic really put a damper on it.
It's okay. Take your time. Make sure it's as awesome as the first 3.
Yeah. Robert Englund, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger is joining the cast. He just showed up like a week or 2 ago to film his scenes. I'm very excited about that. We know Hopper is coming back. We saw the teaser. There's this thing with 11, so we know there's going to be some flashback moments in the other teaser. Just very excited for this 4th season. Can't wait to do my rewatch. I try to rewatch all the seasons before the new season hits. It's the only show I do that with.
I knew we were going to be talking about this week, so I started. I'm only on episode 1, season 1, but I was so happy to press play.
Yeah, oh
yeah.
So good.
You get the first opening scenes, and then all of a sudden the kick-ass opening montage, just the pulsating music and the cool neon.
The soundtrack's incredible. Yes. I mean, it takes a lot from John Carpenter, who is my favorite horror director, if people know, and very big on the synth. And it uses that a lot. Obviously, if you've heard the opening theme song, very synthy. It's just, again, it's incredible from start to finish. It really is. And if you're one of those people that hasn't gotten into it, you should. It's just really that good. But now we're going to go talk about some other things that we want to recommend that are, not Stranger Things on Netflix. Wayne, I'm going to let you start this week.
Okay. I'm going to start with one of the most controversial Netflix originals, in my opinion, and that's going to be 13 Reasons Why. Debuted in the winter of 2017, I believe.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I know we were still in Aurora at the old place.
Yes.
And I know me and our good friend Dave McCann, we're going back and forth every time we finish an episode. It's like, dude, have you seen this yet? Dude. 13 Reasons Why follows teenager Clay Jensen in his quest to uncover the story behind his classmate and crush, Hannah Baker, and her decision to end her life. One of the most unique ways to approach a story. I know this is a book, and that the author was pretty involved with the first season at least. But Hannah Baker has left 13 tapes explaining what has happened to her and her 13 reasons why she's decided to end her life. And just the emotional, raw, just feelings and energy that are in these episodes. Finding out the depth of each of these characters, because each episode is a tape and focuses on a specific character and their relationship with Hannah, and the character growth is fantastic in the first season. And it is emotional. Like I very much expressed many emotions: tears, rage, happiness. This first season, and
it's a roller coaster for sure.
Thank you. Losing the track of words. But as good as the first season was, they went on to make 3 more seasons. And with each season, it subsequently got further and further away from the emotional impact.
Yeah.
I mean, season 2 was very, very good, in my opinion.
It still continues basically wrapping up Hannah's story for one more season.
And, the tragedy that happens to the young man in question of the inciting incident of season 2. I don't want to go into it because I think you need to really experience this episode. But after that, season 3 and 4, it really just turns into a teen melodrama, in my opinion. And it felt like a cash grab. Especially season 4, where there is no conclusion or no consequence to everything that's gone on. It's just kind of like, oh, happy day, everything's fine. It's like, no, wait, no.
Yeah. And as much as I liked season 2, because I did like season 2, I thought it was good. I really, honestly, this should have been a one-off. They should have been one show. one season, which I think was the original intention was one season, which is why you kind of get like 3 and 4 where they're trying to stretch for stories because they really didn't know where to go. I don't think.
Well, I mean, I think they should have, like you said, done a spin-off maybe, or if not 13 Reasons Why. It's like
you could have done an anthology series and covered teen suicide, and maybe I know there were some people unhappy with how it was covered in season 1, so you could maybe have addressed those situations and maybe put it a little more out there. There was it is one of those shows that, especially the first 2 seasons, it can be very triggering for people that have depression or thinking about suicide or are suicidal. So it's one of those things that you have to tell people, if you are that way, have been that way, or feel like you could be that way, don't watch it, because it definitely, I think, can trigger stuff like that. I don't think when it came out, people were trying to get it banned and pulled, and that's not the way to go.
That wasn't the point of they weren't glamorizing it.
No, not at all.
I understand. I'm sorry, I completely cut you off here, but I completely understand how you could be upset that it was triggering for you or someone that you love or it affected you. But this did not glamorize suicide to make money. This brought attention and brought it to light. It's like, hey, if you have these feelings, it's okay to feel this way. And,
talk to somebody.
There's nothing, to be ashamed of, but make sure that you take the proper steps to care for yourself.
Yes.
And if you can't care for yourself, then let somebody else care for you, because somebody, you are loved regardless.
Yes.
Honestly, if I don't even know you and you have a problem, I will love you if you need it. Sorry, this is my touching moment, and I'm being 100% sincere here, but I'm straying down the path. It's like, just it's a thing, and not to be taken lightly.
Yes, exactly. And this show does is a good thing to watch for adults too, I think, because it shows you the kind of signs that you could look for, even if you think your kid's doing fine, even if it's not suicidal. Like, Clay isn't suicidal at all, but Clay's going through some shit.
Oh yeah, and he's definitely had a break from reality, for sure.
And his parents are kind of just not paying attention to him. And it's not dangerous, like I said, it's not dangerous in the way that he's going to kill himself. It's dangerous in the way that he could get hurt or get somebody else hurt, because he's kind of just going out there, balls to the walls, trying to solve this thing, and kind of slowly losing his mind at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely shows, it doesn't judge anybody. It just shows that we all kind of need to help pay attention to one another to make sure things like this can be prevented, which I think is something that we can prevent. I mean, you're not going to prevent all of them, obviously, but, look for the signs of when people need help. And this show, I think, helped bring attention to that, not to the kids that are suicidal, but to the kids that may have friends that are. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think it's a good thing for kids, teenagers to watch, because it'll kind of maybe give the ones that, something wrong with Wayne over there. I don't know, but this is a sign I saw from that show. Or I read a book that said this was a sign. Or I saw an article that said this was a sign. Stuff like that. Stuff like the show can help people, I think. It wasn't to glamorize the suicide. That was, like you talked about, they did show a decent amount of her suicide as the first season went on. That's a choice. That's a creative choice. That's any time you come to a suicide scene or a rape scene in a movie, it's up to the director on how far he wants to push it. And sometimes it's to push it for shock value. Sometimes it's to push it to make you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it's to push it to show you the reality of what something like that looks like. It's up to you to decide if it works for you or not. Granted, there are ways to shoot this stuff that you can shoot around the gruesome stuff. But again, it's a creative choice. They chose not to do that for the most part.
Yeah, and how do you feel about her actual suicide, that particular episode, and the way they shot it and showed what they showed? I think they did it really, really well. It's like, you know what? This is the brutality of it, though, as well.
Yeah, it was. It was done very, I think, cinematically. It wasn't in-your-face gross, but it was enough to show you how real it is. And it reminds me of a movie called Rules of Attraction from 2000 with James Van Der Beek.
Yep.
Early 2000s, where there's a character who kills herself, and they show you cutting the wrist upwards, like they say that's That's if you're going to do it, that's how to do it, which is crazy that people know that. But and it's it's hard to watch, but at the same time, I think it was like, oh my god, like this is what this is like, and it kind of gives you a reality blast, if you will. And I think this show, that's what their intention was. It wasn't to, oh, this is cool. Like anyone that thought that was just looking to get more likes on their comments or people to pay attention to them.
Trolls.
Yeah, because that's not what they were out for.
Also, just not to, I know we've focused a lot on the suicide aspect of it, but this show did deal with a lot of other things aside from just that, teen homelessness and drug addiction. Bullying, definitely bullying a lot.
Yep.
The immigration thing with the one character, I forget his name, the guy he had the souped up car. He was Clay's best friend, and of course,
Marco, or
I'll tell you in 1 second as soon as I can find it.
He was also friends with what's her name?
Tony Padilla.
Yeah, Tony. That's right. Yeah. It dealt with homosexuality. It dealt with coming out of the closet. It that was more in season 2. It dealt with a lot of stuff that I think kids deal with. Blackmail, yeah, and stuff like that. And that's more people. Black kids don't do. Yeah, they do. Whenever don't do this, or I'm going to post this online. That's blackmail. It may not be like give me $1 million, but it's the same idea and the same plan. And someone holding on to your private photos or private videos and then threatening to post them online. That's blackmail, and it deals with that in this show. And and this show isn't an educational show. This show is meant to entertain, but it was never meant to, I think, glorify any of the things people thought it was glorifying.
I mean, the privilege, not just white, but rich kid privilege, getting away with things because of who your parents are, or how much they donated, or if you're on the football team.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in this series. Definitely recommend watching the first 2 seasons and probably just stopping. You could even just watch season 1 and stop if you want. Season 2 was good though, but season 1 was like perfect. It had a perfect ending and everything. It wrapped up the story nicely. I thought it was really good.
Just if you're going to continue watching, just keep in mind that it really shifts to a teen melodrama in seasons 3 and 4.
All right, so I'm going to go on to what I want to talk about next, and that is a TV show I don't feel enough people talk about, and that's called Atypical. It's an American comedy drama streaming television series created by Rabia Rashid for Netflix. Focuses on the life of 18-year-old Sam Gardner, who has autism spectrum disorder. The first season came out in 2017. It's had 3 seasons, and the 4th and final season comes out later this year. I'm really looking forward to it. As someone who has a son who has disabilities that make it harder for him to be around other kids, this show really spoke to me. Now my kid doesn't have autism, but he's got ADHD, anxiety, so a lot of the similarities in the issues that they have in this show, I see in my son occasionally. And it hits home. Me and my wife, we watch this show together. It's we don't watch a lot of shows together, but this is one of them. We both really like it. It's funny. It's emotional. It's great family drama. It stars Jennifer Jason Leigh, Kurt Gilchrist, Bridget Lundy Payne from Bill and Ted 3, Amy Okuda, and Michael Rappaport. Rappaport and Jennifer Jason Leigh play the parents. Bridget Lundy Payne plays the sister of Kurt Gilchrist. And Amy Okuda plays his therapist that he sees throughout the show. She's not in every episode, but she's in. Well, actually, you know what? Hold on. I may be incorrect on that one. Hold on. Oh no, I was right. Yeah, she plays a therapist, but there are other characters that come throughout too. It deals with not only does it deal with the kid with autism and how he passes high school, deals with people on an emotional level. He does have a girlfriend. He ends up going to college. It shows how the family has to. I don't want to say deal because that sounds bad, but it shows how the family lives with someone who has a disability and what they have to endure as well. So it's not just focused on the kid with the disability; it's focused on his family and how strenuous and stressful that it can be. But how in the end, your family, right? So it doesn't matter what happens, you're always going to be there for each other. It's a very great show. It's one of my favorites on Netflix, and I just know a lot of people do not talk about it And I really wish people would watch it. They're only like half-hour episodes. It's pretty fantastic, and it's great if you want to see some great acting from some younger kids as well.
I have not seen this episode. I will definitely dive into this.
Yeah, it's really good. I think you'll like it.
But I mean, the modified living arrangement, where you, like, I too have a child who's got some special needs and struggles and whatnot, and you just kind of modify your life and your home around what's going to be best suited for you to be beneficial to your kid.
Exactly. And they do a really good job, I think, on the show of showing how that happens and how difficult it can be sometimes and how loving it can be sometimes. It goes back and forth. And the parents struggle just like he struggles, just like the sister struggles. The sister, they do a lot of the sister not being the center of attention. She always has to deal with being second because of his disability. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of that going on. So there's, she's got a boyfriend, and then she's got this girl that she likes. So there's like a love triangle there as well. It's just a really, really good show, and I really want people to watch it. So if you take anything out of this Netflix episode, watch Atypical, watch 13 Reasons Why, and start watching Stranger Things.
Yeah, I knew watching, like, going into this, we were going to be very passionate about this, but this is a really deep, heavy episode. I think probably one of the deepest and most thought-provoking ones I think we've had, and that's a great thing.
It is. No, yeah. There's
usually you're being informative, and I chime in with something stupid off the top for attempted humor, but yeah, I think we're really getting and touching some nerves here that are...
Basically, we're saying this stuff's going to make you cry.
Stop making me feel things!
All right, Wayne, you're next.
All right, I am going to go completely lighthearted this time. I want to talk about Glow, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Yes.
And how saddened I was to hear that COVID has not just shut down production, but shut down production permanently, it seems. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping in the next year or so they will come to their senses and at least finish out the series, or at least give us a movie or something.
It's difficult only with that one because they have to be so close to each other. That's why they had a hard time doing that show. They'd already shot part of season 4, so that's really the disheartening part. Is there's some footage out there of it that we'll probably never get to see.
Right.
But it really, I do like you. I agree. They renewed it for one final season, and we didn't get that final season. So I hope at some point they give us a movie or something.
Absolutely. Let's see. A look at the personal and professional lives of a group of women who perform for a wrestling organization in Los Angeles during the 1980s. The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling was an actual thing.
It was, yep.
And, it was highly sexualized, and the show is sexualized as well, but it also really focuses on women empowerment. And it's so refreshing to see these women standing up and performing at their best and, just overcoming their struggles. It's not always glamorous, and they aren't always super successful. I mean, there's some toxic relationships in there, and just, it's very, very nice to see a woman-led cast that actually is kick-ass and, gosh, I lost my train of thought.
No, it's great because, like you said, the stuff they show, the stuff they go through. The other thing they go through too, like many guys do, and women have talked about it more recently, is injuries.
Yeah.
Is that when they get injured, they still have to perform because that's their living. They don't get paid if they don't perform. And the fact that they show that in the show, I think, is really kind of relevant to today, because the joke with women's soccer to men's soccer is like the men are flopping and the women are on the field with their noses bleeding and their shoulders dislocated, and they're still out there, they're playing. And if you're an American, you know that women's soccer is actually a lot better than men's soccer in this country. However, men get more money and get paid more to play it.
As you know, I used to work for a certain college sports network based in Chicago, and I had the pleasure of working with some of the student-led operations on shoots and whatnot, and we focused a lot on soccer in the fall. And I tell you that the women apparently are 10 times tougher and 10 times more athletic. Well, I shouldn't say athletic, but it's just way more fun, and there's way more action watching the women play versus the men. And I don't want to talk about flopping too much because it angers me. But yeah, just the blatant, oh my God, the flailing.
And then as soon as they walk away, they get up and they're fine.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, just Anyway, a lot of comparisons between this and the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Yeah, and reality. Like I said, I guess my point was that it kind of compares very well with reality and how things are perceived today, even in that women are still fighting to get respect in business, in sports, in the movie business, in creative worlds. They're still fighting to get the respect that they deserve and be paid the same. And it's funny to have a show set in the 80s that deals with all those topics, and all those topics are so relevant to today.
Yeah, and so how nothing has really changed.
Right, exactly. And it was a great show. If it never comes back, I will miss it, and I'll miss that we did not get our final season. But I will be thankful for what we did get. It has a great cast. The ladies on it are fantastic. I'm a huge Mark Maron fan, so having him on the show I think was also great. But it was such a great show, and I'm glad Wayne brought it up because it's one of those ones that you kind of forget about if you don't watch it enough. And plus, there's not a new episode coming on anytime soon. So Wayne, you want to go through the cast real quick?
We've got Allison Brie is the lead. The lead. She is Ruth Wilder. We've got Betty Gilpin as Debbie Egan, and just the relationship and the journey that these two go on, and
how it starts for us.
And just and there's some there's some major personal conflict between the two to start the show off.
Yes,
they kind of put it aside in a sense
until the end of the season.
Successful.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Britt Baron, Sydney Knoll, Kate Nash, Brittany Young. Rankin.
Some of them. One of them was an actual woman wrestler too.
Yes, I believe that was Brittany Young. Cameron Wade.
Welfare Queen was one. She was
yes.
And yes, well, I'm not that's what they call her on the show. They do that because it's the '80s and they're trying to, they have a.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out because I'm just going through this list of characters' names. It's like they made up these names for themselves.
Yes,
they're their own made characters.
Not all of them, but they end up. So there are some kind of racial things that happen on the show, but it's on purpose. It's because the white guy that's running the show is like, oh, you're going to be a terrorist. And it's a Middle Eastern woman, and she ends up kind of taking her own identity from this character and coming up with her own new character on her own. To differentiate herself from being that terrorist, because she doesn't like that either. Welfare Queen, there's a lot of brought up on that too, on race and stuff, and they talk about that a lot. There's a lot of important issues I think that are talked about in this show. Like I said, come for the women because they are great in this show, and watch them perform. In the wrestling scenes, they're fantastic. They all basically did most of the stunts themselves.
Yeah.
They're funny.
They're so funny.
Yeah, they're
so
good.
And even during the conflict.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just they got this humor that they bring. Obviously, the soundtrack is top notch because it is an '80s soundtrack. Obviously, the main theme.
Yes.
Just it gets in your head, and I'm not going to hum it or sing it for you because I can't do it justice. But it's a very well-known song.
Yes.
And you'll love it from the start.
It's really good. You guys should watch it. All right, so I'm going to have two movies I want to bring up, but I'm going to stick with a TV show real quick. The next one I want to talk about is The Haunting of Hill House. It has had a second season. It's an anthology show. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not going to talk about that one. That's The Haunting of Bly Manor. So this is The Haunting of Hill House. Haunting of Hill House was created by Shirley Jackson. That's the author of the book. It has been since turned into a popular Netflix series called The Haunting of Hill House. Created by Mike Flanagan, who is one of the up-and-coming, not really up-and-coming anymore, but director of Dr. Sleep. He's got another Netflix TV show. He's done Netflix movies. He's everything he's done I pretty much like. So Haunting of Hill House is no different. He created it. I think he directed a couple of the episodes. It stars Mikhail Huseman, he was on Game of Thrones, Carlo Gugino, Henry Thomas, Elizabeth Reeser, Oliver Jackson Cohen, who is from the most recent Invisible Man movie, Kate Siegel, who is actually the wife of Mike Flanagan, Victoria Pedretti, who is in the TV show You now on Netflix, another Netflix original. Lulu Wilson, McKenna Grace, Timothy Hutton plays the older version of Henry Thomas's character, the father. It's a show that deals the first season. Like I said, it's anthology, so everything's separate. Mm-hmm. So the first season deals with a family that's kind of torn apart when you meet them. No one really talks to each other. One of them's an author who wrote a book about the family, so everyone hates him. The other one is just people are just mean and hateful. One of them's a drug addict. The other one's a housewife who just kind of hates her life at the moment. And you got the youngest who is just kind of trying to find her way. And it all comes to a head when she goes missing. She went back to their house when they were, this is the first episode, she goes back to their house when they were kids, and they all lived in this kind of big old house, and she disappears. So they come back together, and they find out, you find this out in episode 1 or 2, she's dead. So then they start to try to figure out what happened. Is the house haunted? Is the house doing this? They all start having memories from when they were younger. It's a really, really great flippin' show. The cinematography, the story, the music, the acting. Kate Siegel has become an icon from this show. She played the one daughter who is a lesbian, and a lot of people have taken to her character, and they should have, because she's fantastic in it. She plays Theodora. And Carla Gugino plays the mother who died when they were younger, so you don't. She's just in flashbacks and stuff, but she's really good too. It's great because it tells the story through the flashbacks and through the current time period. Episode 6, Wayne, to this day, is one of those episodes I'll never forget. It's scary, it's tense, it's one shot.
Really?
It's at a funeral home, and they just and I can't tell you if it's actually one shot or if he digitally made it one shot type of thing. Mm-hmm. But that's how it's set up. And it's it starts out at the front of the funeral home, and then it just kind of follows. You go through. It's such an incredible episode.
Oh, so it's like the Goodfellas shot.
Yes, but for 60 minutes, essentially. So,
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's insane. Huh. It's insane how he does it. Like I said, I can't. There have been some recently where they've done it digitally. I don't know if he did it digitally or if he actually did it in one shot. Because as everybody knows, when you do that, if you screw up, you gotta take over and over again. So there are ways to shoot around it. But it's an incredible episode. The show itself is just fantastic. I'm a huge fan of this season. I haven't rewatched it yet. I've been wanting to rewatch it. It's just so good. So it's on Netflix. You can also buy the DVD Blu-ray, which has unrated versions of this episodes.
When we talk about iconic episodes for shows that we love, you brought up episode 6 of this show. Immediately when you said it's that episode, I immediately go to the finale episode of season 3 of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Talk about iconic. And as everybody knows, or if you don't know, we both love Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
And it has many, many moments. But I think when they tie up all the loose ends in season 3,
yes,
that's one of those right there.
And I think you get a special, whenever you realize you have a special show when there is an episode like that you can continuously go back to and just be like, wow, what they did on this episode was amazing. Mm-hmm. And, this show overall, it's just 10 episodes. Each episode is great. And there's a lot that sticks out in my head from just watching it once so far. But I really recommend this show if you haven't watched it, even if you're a little scaredy cat sometimes, Wayne. It does deal a lot with ghosts and stuff, so there is a lot of that. But it's just so great, and I really think people should watch it. Wayne, what's your next one?
All right. I couldn't talk about Netflix original without mentioning Ozark. Let's see. A financial advisor drags his family from Chicago to the Missouri Ozarks, where he must launder money to appease a drug boss. This show stars Jason Bateman, Laura Linney, Sophia Hublitz, Skylar Gartner, I believe is how you pronounce that?
Yes.
Julia Garner, Lisa Emery, Charlie Tehan, There's just a ton of talent on this show. Um, Basically, the easiest way I can tie this to, think Breaking Bad
Yes, it's been compared mostly to Breaking Bad.
in without the science.
Yes.
Um, you don't really have like a mastermind Walter White character that's kind of like Jason Bateman's character and Laura Linney. They kind of trade off with
and they get stuck in the situation.
Yes.
Where Walter White, everybody knows who watched Breaking Bad at this point, he puts himself in that situation and doesn't want to leave that situation.
And he's always 2 to 3 steps ahead, even though you don't realize that until he reveals the plan.
Yes.
Jason Bateman and Laura Linney, the married couple, they are just kind of winging it, I guess you could say. And
they're really good at winging it, but they're winging it. Yes.
It has been announced that season 4 will be the final episode coming out. I think in 2022.
I think it might be the end of this year. It's either the end of this year or early next year.
I didn't start. This is a pandemic binge.
Same here. Yep.
And I loved it. I am a little upset that it took me so long, but also I got to watch everything. So that's kind of the way I like it because I absolutely hate having to stop and wait. Like I'm still waiting for Lucifer.
I know.
And my wait will be over at the end of this week.
Yes, it's coming back.
So.
This show, I think you brought up a good point too of like how they're not like Walter White's 10 steps ahead of everybody. Mm-hmm. The end of this season 3 shows they are no steps ahead of anybody, and there's a complete shocking moment that happens that you're like, oh my god, and that they did not see coming, and they thought they saw everything. That's the point, the difference. Yeah. They thought they saw everything coming. They didn't. They basically see nothing coming.
You know that creek you are without the pedal? That's where they are right now.
Yes.
So I can't wait to see how the series is going to play out.
Yes.
I don't
Very
hold out hope, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the development and what the kids have to go through, being from their upper middle class life, to living out in the country,
and lots of great performances on this show too. Julia Gardner has won several awards for playing her character.
And just because she's got a hillbilly twang, she is incredibly intelligent. Don't let the living in a trailer.
Also, she sounds nothing like that in real life.
Yeah, which was shocking. It's again, I'm going to go back to Sons of Anarchy. The first time I heard Charlie Hunnam talk, without doing his Jack's voice, it's like, oh my god, it's so elegant. I love him even more. You just go ahead and take your shirt off, talk to me in your normal voice there, Charlie.
Julia Gardner, we talked about. Obviously, Jason Bateman and Laura Linney give really good performances. The kids give really good performances. But I wanted to talk about Tom Pelphrey, who plays Ben, which is Wendy's brother who has bipolar disorder. He's only in season 3. He gives a fantastic performance. He is from Iron Fist. People, if you've watched that, that's where you may recognize him from. He's obviously done other things as well. But he is so good in season 3. Mm-hmm. Definitely deserved to be nominated. I'm not sure if he was. I'm pretty sure he didn't win really anything, but he should have because he was that good. And it's such a tragic story from start to finish for his character. It's just really a great role for him. And I think people should honestly watch it basically just based on his performance and Julia Gardner's performance throughout all 3 seasons.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get attached to any characters either because...
It is one of those, any of the smaller characters. You never know when they're going to...
Well, you think they're going to be major players, and all of a sudden, whoopsies, Game of Thrones style. Like, I love Esai Morales.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah, don't get attached to them. That's for sure.
Or the... I forget the gentleman's name, but the landowner where all of the stuff is grown.
Yeah, Peter Mullen. Yep. Yeah, he's good too. And he's another one that you're like, he'll be around for a long time. You're like, oh, okay.
And there are
spoilers, people.
There's some cringy moments too that there's the one relationship is like, oh.
Yeah. There's some strange moments, but it's a really good show. All right, I'm going to move on to my next. We're running a little long here, I think, so I'll go quickly here. The Fundamentals of Caring, starring Paul Rudd.
Yes.
It's a movie. It's a coming-of-age story about a kid in a wheelchair, and Paul Rudd is basically like an out-of-work writer who just needs a job. And he takes a job, and he kind of is down on himself, but then it comes to realization that he really needed this job to kind of help him move forward in his life, and also to kind of help the kid have fun and enjoy his life. Paul Rudd, Craig Roberts, Selena Gomez star. Rob Burnett directed it and wrote it. It's based on a book by somebody.
Very talented writer. Very huge.
Jonathan Evizan. He wrote the book. Ben is an out-of-work writer in Seattle, avoiding his estranged wife's attempts to serve him with divorce papers. He takes a 6-week course to become a registered caregiver and is hired by Elsa, a bank office manager from England, to care for her 18-year-old son, Trevor, who has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Ben adjusts to Trevor's routine and bonds with the sardonic, sexually frustrated teenager. Trevor reveals that his father left when he was diagnosed at age 3 and sends Trevor letters which he ignores. Elsa tells Ben that she and Trevor know he is coping with the death of his young son and warns him not to become too close to Trevor, fearing he will be hurt when Ben inevitably moves on. So there's a lot of emotional stuff in this movie. Obviously, all the characters are going through their own emotional mess. Even Selena Gomez's character, they meet her on the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a really good coming-of-age story. Paul Rudd is hilarious. It's touching. It's emotional. It's one of those movies, I think it came out quite a while ago, so if you didn't catch it then, you might have forgotten about it. It was 2016.
Yeah, I didn't know that this one came out as long ago as it did.
Right, same here, yeah.
When I watched this, I got a Perks of Being a Wallflower vibe.
Yes, very much
and
so.
I know it's not really anything...
There's Paul Rudd.
Linking it. Yeah, that's right, Paul Rudd. Wow, how did I miss that? Shame! But yeah, it snuck up on me, and it affected me emotionally in a way that I, one, was not prepared for, and then two, pleasantly accepted, I guess, even though I wasn't expecting it, and it made me feel things again, but I appreciated it very much.
Yes, it's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's called The Fundamentals of Caring. Wayne, if you'll go on to your last one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, that we're running so long on this one, but we're just really passionate about these Netflix shows.
Yes.
It, again, knocks it out of the park. And I'm, again, taking it lighthearted. I am going with The Ranch, or That 70s Ranch, because it stars Ashton Kutcher, and Danny Masterson is on there for the first few parts, not seasons, parts.
Yes, as they call them, parts, yeah, because they release 2 a year, so.
Just very funny. It's about Texas cattle ranching. Ashton Kutcher is the main character. Ashton Kutcher. I don't know why I keep saying his name incorrectly. Sorry about that.
Ashton Kutcher.
I know you're a big fan, sir. I apologize. Why don't you come on the show and teach me how to say your name properly? Bring Mila. She can hang out too. It's cool. He is failed football player who kind of pissed away every opportunity that he had due to drinking. Colt Bennett. And then
Sam Elliott plays the father.
Sam Elliott is fantastic. Just the most caring and loving, unemotional, not caring character I've ever seen or met in my life. Just the seriousness with which he can deliver a message.
Yeah.
In just that classic deep Sam Elliott, Bo Bennett voice. I mean, you got Winona Ryder as the mother.
Not Winona Ryder.
Not Deborah Winger. Excuse me. Sorry. Whoa. You got Sam Elliott obviously is the father. You got Deborah Winger as the mother, who is just a sassy powerhouse in and of herself. Obviously, Danny Masterson was asked to leave the show or was fired. I don't remember exactly what.
He was a producer on the show. So I think while they didn't fire him because I don't know if they could, but it was more like, hey, this is best on both parties if you just walk away.
Yeah.
So his character, some of the more emotional part of the show is what happens to his character.
That was rough, man. How they handled that.
I will say, in hindsight, and I still like the show, in hindsight of what's going on at the very moment, he's going to be going on trial for rape, and they probably should have just made his character disappear or go away. Because they spent a couple episodes emotionally remembering him.
Yeah, in a sympathetic way.
Yes, and now with what's happening, at the time the charges weren't as serious, I don't think, as they are now.
Yeah. And
now it kind of looks poorly, I think, on the show. However, like I said, I still enjoy the show. In a vacuum, it still works within the show and how it happens. They did bring on Dax Shepard as a relative, a cousin / nephew, and I like him a lot. So that was fun that they brought him on to kind of replace Rooster.
Yeah.
So it's it's one of those things that you kind of have to look at it in the way the stuff is playing out in reality and judge for yourself if it's something you want to watch based on that.
But we got a lot of throwback characters from that 70s show.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. Mr. Foreman and Kitty. Red and Kitty make appearances.
Kitty plays Alicia Cuthbert's mother, so she's in it quite often. Wilmer Valderrama shows up for a little. Fez, yeah.
Just kidding, Wilmer. I know you're a big fan of the show as well. We love you.
Yeah, we love you, Wilmer. Come by and visit someday.
Yeah. Tell us all about Mark Harmon and NCIS.
That's right. I forgot he's on that show.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, it's touching and funny, and if you don't take it too seriously about all the stuff, be aware of what these actors are going through and what is going on. Just like we commented on with Danny Masterson and that whole mess. But if you can look past that and appreciate the show for what it was, you'll enjoy it.
A lot of other people worked on the show that weren't horrible people.
Yeah.
So you could always. That's how I always try to look at things. Is like a lot of people come together to make a TV show or a movie. Not one person is responsible for that. So when one person is bad, that shouldn't stop everybody from watching it. Now, if you're a person that can't get through it, I completely understand and wouldn't force it on you. I wouldn't force anything on anybody. But it's just...
Except for Lou Malnati's pizza. I'm going to force you to have a piece.
Yes, Lou Malnati's is delicious, so you better eat some. But yeah, it's a really good show. It's one of those ones I didn't really expect to like that much because it's a dumb comedy, but it has a lot of emotion, a lot of family stuff going on. Each season kind of ends on a downer almost.
Yeah.
Like every season has like that cliffhanger where you just want to like jump in the shower and drink a bottle of Jack while you cry. Yes. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about before we get to our next segment is a little movie called "I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore." It is directed by Macon Blair, who's doing the new Toxic Avenger movie, and he's an actor and a writer and has been in a bunch of stuff. He directs it, starring Melanie Linsky, Elijah Wood, David Yao, Jane Levy, and Devon Gray. It's this movie where Melanie Linsky plays this woman who her house gets broken into, and she just can't take it anymore. Like, she's had so much shit bad happen to her that's like the last straw. It's not like they stole like anything major. She just doesn't want to feel vulnerable again. Like, it really deals with that. And Elijah Wood plays like her crazy next door neighbor who's into her. And so he goes on this adventure with her to like get her stuff back, basically. It's a really quirky, weird movie. It's gory at times, not like spray blood gory, but like things happen to characters that you're like, holy shit. And if you knew who Macon Blair was, if you watched some of his other movies that he's been in, you'd probably understand. It's a really creative film. I really dug this movie when it came out in 2017. It's like I said, it's not for everybody. It's definitely a strange one, but I really, really recommend it. Melanie Linsky is fantastic here. She's more of a, I think, character actor. You see her in a lot of other side roles, but this one, it's nice to see her as the lead in this.
She has always kind of been one of my celebrity crushes. If I could be 100% honest, I've always been a big fan of hers.
Yeah, no, for sure. And she's really good here. Derek Mears, who played Jason Voorhees, is in this as well. Macon Blair also makes a cameo as well. It's really just a really creative and fun little kind of like thriller. It's not really a horror, but it's made by a bunch of horror people. Elijah Wood, many people may not know this, but he actually runs a production company called Spectre, which produces it's called Spectre Vision, which produces horror films. He produced Mandy with Nicolas Cage and a bunch of other movies. So he's big into horror movies. He then shows up in them every once in a while, like this one.
What'd you say? He likes WandaVision?
Yes. So if you haven't seen this, seek this one out. Again, it's called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. It's just really, really, really cool. And it's one of those movies that even though I can watch it anytime I want, I wish they would put it on like a nice Blu-ray with special features and stuff because I'd like to purchase it. But yeah, so that's been our Netflix originals that we recommend. Let's get into, Wayne, our next segment, which is our review
of the week.
And this week we got two movies for you. They're both Netflix originals. One by way of being purchased by Netflix outright, the other one being sold to Netflix later. So those are two things that happen with Netflix. Either they straight up produce a movie or they buy it from somebody else. And the first one we have on the dockets is the one they straight up produced, directed by Zack Snyder, Army of the Dead, starring Batista, or Dave Batista as he goes by now, because he's no longer a wrestler.
The funny guy from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Drax, everybody. He's Drax. Let's see. It goes through the cast list. So Dave Batista, Ella Purnell, Omari Hardwick, who I really loved in this movie, Ana de la Reguera, Theo Rossi from The Sons of Anarchy, Matthias Schweighöfer, Nora Medzeder, Hiroyuki Sanada, who is in Mortal Kombat, Tig Notaro, Raul Castilla, Garrett Dillahunt, and Huma Qureshi, who I'm not familiar with her as much. But so this is a movie. We'll go through the plot here real quick. It starts off in the beginning, military. They're in a car accident with some guy and wife enjoying their marriage.
Oh, they are enjoying the hell out of that marriage.
Explosions happen, and the containment device they have gets opened, and it unleashes a zombie apocalypse on Las Vegas specifically. Goes months later, you realize that they were able to maintain the zombie apocalypse inside Las Vegas. They basically just closed off Las Vegas. And then Sanada, his character, comes to Dave Batista, who is now a cook, Scott Ward, and he asks him to go into the casino to steal a bunch of money that's already been paid out by insurance, and they get to take $50 million with him and his team, and then the $150 million goes to Sanada, Sanada's character,
but not everything as it seems.
Yes, but that's what I was going to say. Everything is not as it seems, and obviously there's some betrayal in between the team. Garrett Dillahunt plays his security man who goes with them. The team consists of all the other actors I mentioned earlier. And they go into Vegas to find this money and take out some zombies. One thing I'll say right off the bat, I appreciate a movie with good gore.
Yeah.
And this had plenty of it. So that part I really did like about it. I like the gore effects. They did use a little bit too much CGI in some scenes that I wish they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But overall, I was okay with it.
Let's talk about the music real quick, especially to open it.
Yes.
Oh gosh,
it's a Richard Cheese special, everybody, where he does what's the song that he does?
Oh gosh,
it's a Vegas song. It's
Viva Las Vegas.
Is it Viva Las? Yeah.
I think.
Yes, I believe that's what it is.
I had immediate drawbacks to the 2004 Dawn of the Dead,
which is Zack Snyder. Yeah, he loves doing this, and he loves Richard Cheese, obviously. Richard Cheese is a lounge singer, everybody, who does famous songs in a lounge singer voice. Yeah. He's done Britney Spears.
I'll get you down with the sickness.
Exactly. So he does. I think it is Viva Las Vegas in this one to open it. But he not only that, he uses covers for a bunch of other songs throughout the movie. We do get, for the first time, you're talking about the music, and this is, I don't know if it's exactly the first time, but it's the first time I remember, and a guy on Twitter, a writer, said the same thing. The first time they've used the song Zombie by the Cranberries in a zombie movie.
Yeah.
So it's
that tied it up so well at the end. Obviously, we're both big fans of the Cranberries and are faithfully departed.
Yes, of course. So this movie, it's not perfect, but I think there's enough there to enjoy it for what it is. It is a little long, in my opinion. There could have been less, only because we don't get great character development throughout the movie. I think there could have been less introduction scenes in the beginning. if you're not going to really get to know these people, do we really care who they are then? You know what I mean?
There is a lot to the movie,
Yes.
and it's something that I just need to go back and rewatch because
there's a lot going on.
I know there's stuff that I missed just because of the amount of information given.
Yes.
Like, when the big reveal as to why they're actually there, it's like, wait a minute. And then I had to stop and think and go back to, okay, now that makes sense because I had to stop and think as opposed to just being given the information in a way that I can. It's kind of like I had to stop paying attention and figure it out on my own.
So the scene where Batista runs across the tables in Las Vegas, I love that scene. I thought that was fantastic. That was probably one of my favorite scenes. I was expecting a lot more kind of one-on-one action sequences, which we really didn't get. It was a lot of like the group together just shooting zombies in the head.
Yeah.
So some of that was a little bit disappointing. I did enjoy the sequence with Mari Hardwick's character, and then he ends up getting locked in the vault. Spoiler. Yeah. At some point, it's not really giving too much away. I am going to go into spoiler territory, though. I am going to spoil things. So if you haven't watched the movie, this is just stuff I wanted to talk about, Wayne, because I think we need to talk about it. So spoilers. I'm going to spoil the end of the movie. All right. So
everybody dies.
Basically. That's what I don't understand, right? Because this movie was set up to be the beginning of a franchise, and yet by the end of the movie, basically everybody is dead, including the leads of the film.
Yeah.
And they're obviously set it up for the zombie disease to get out into the world with Amari's character, but which again, it just it felt like those the three main characters, or at least the three main ones, which is the girl that he picks up first, and then Amari Hardwick, the three that were in the beginning killing zombies, are like the three characters you're supposed to love, and the daughter.
Yeah.
Right? Well, they just dispatch of everybody, and it just kind of bothered me too, and I was just like,
what? Yeah, what was the point in making this film then? You know what I mean? It's like
I guess you could then be like each movie is its own one-off, you know what? I take it like this, I guess. I see what he was doing in a way that this could be his Night of the Living Dead, and that in Night of the Living Dead, basically all the characters die, and then he made Dawn of the Living Dead, where Dawn of the Dead, where a couple characters live, and then Day, where even more characters live. So maybe it's a progression, but I just feel like then you wasted Batista and Amari Hardwick's characters in the first movie. Maybe they should have been in the second movie, because I really am going to, if they make another one, I feel like I'm going to miss those characters. And only those characters, really, because I didn't fall for any of the other characters because they were
one-dimensional.
They were very one-dimensional. And it's a very entertaining movie, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It just, again, I was going to talk about Zack Snyder in the pre-show, and I didn't because I didn't want to get too negative. But when he's out there basically acting like everything that he does is great, and people just don't get it, it really gets on my nerves. Because you're not freaking Martin Scorsese, bro. You're the guy that has made, I'll say it now, 2 good zombie movies, a re-edited version of his Justice League that was good, and 300 and The Watchmen. So that's half of his films that are decent.
And I mean, that in of itself, when you look at that as a career, it's all right.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, you kept going, you're going to hate me. We're not going to really be able to digest this film until we get the director's cut.
Right, exactly.
Of Army of the Dead.
Oh, God. And, which is funny because they can't do now because Netflix said this is the Snyder Cut when they were promoting it. So they can't do it. And this all stuns people.
Just like Justin Bieber says, never say never.
Yes. He wants a sucker punch director's cut, or he has one. And I'm like, just no. Just stop.
Is that what we need?
Right, exactly. And then Martin Scorsese said, that he doesn't like superhero movies, and Snyder goes, well, I wasn't talking about mine. Okay, you arrogant prick. Almost no one has really liked your superhero movies, so why don't you calm down a little bit? That's just my beef with Zack Snyder. It's nothing personal. I don't get the one thing that's going to bother me from this movie is the people that are going to call it a masterpiece. It is far from that. Just like I think the Snyder Cut for Justice League is far from a masterpiece. Is it better? Yes. Is this movie entertaining? Of course. Army of the Dead was a very entertaining movie. I recommend it based on that alone. Just watch it to have a good time and watch zombies get murdered. And Batista is getting better. I think he is actually becoming a better actor, which is nice to see. But overall, it was good. That's what I'll say about it. It was good. Wayne, your thought, it was a good movie, right? You enjoyed it.
I mean, if I had to grade it, 6.5 out of 10, 7.
Yeah, and that's not bad. It's a worthy rating.
But if I'm in the mood for a zombie gore fest or action, it satisfies all of those.
Yes,
so
exactly.
When I am in a mood, it's going to be fantastic. But if I'm not, I'm going to pass.
Yes.
I know that's, of course you are. It's stupid what I just said, but it makes sense in my head.
It makes sense up here, man. All right, so then the next movie we reviewed, I think, Wayne, and this is just my opinion, this may be the best movie I've seen this year. I don't know if you liked it or not. I'm not sure. We haven't talked about this pre-show. The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Originally made by Sony, sold to Netflix because of the pandemic. And it is produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie stars Abby Jacobson, Danny McBride, Maya Rudolph, Eric Andre, Olivia Colman, Fred Armisen, Beck Bennett, John Legend, Chrissy Teigen, Blake Griffin, and Conan O'Brien. Most of those voices I knew, with the exception of Conan O'Brien. Or not Conan O'Brien, sorry, Blake Griffin. I knew Conan's voice, obviously. So it's a movie, we go from a zombie apocalypse, a mini zombie apocalypse, because it just took out Vegas, to a robot apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts out with this family who the daughter wants to go away to film school, and the dad misses his daughter, and he doesn't know what's going to happen if she leaves, and they're always fighting all the time. And so he decides the best case scenario is to get in the old burnt orange station wagon and drive cross country to California to drop her off to her film school.
Yeah.
She reluctantly agrees. In the process of this happening, the head tech guy, played by Eric Andre, is releasing his new device, which is robots. I think iRobot, everybody.
Yeah.
And but they're controlled like through your cell phone, or they are your cell phone, really. So as you can see, things are going to happen, and his cell phone ends up taking over his technology and gets the robots to round up all the humans while the Mitchells are on their road trip. And hilarity and emotion and action and adventure and everything ensues following the robot apocalypse, or as Danny McBride's character said, the robots. I didn't know where that accent was coming from, but I loved it. Yeah. Robots. Oh, watch out for all the robots, everybody.
This, obviously it's touted as a comedy with some action in there,
yes.
But just the amount of feels that you experience.
Yes.
The underlying sneaky way they just tug at your heartstrings.
For sure.
Even you wouldn't care about the stupid dog.
Oh my God, the dog is amazing, everybody. Dog.
Pig.
Loaf of bread. We know the difference between dog, pig, and loaf of bread. Yeah. There's so many great one-liners in it. It's a great, just enjoyable, fun, family entertainment film, but it's also on a different level than most of those other movies, I would say.
It's loud, and it's fun, and it's colorful to keep the kids, but it's funny for adults because we get it. Think when you first time you saw The Incredibles. That's the comparison that I draw. I mean,
for sure.
Oh, gee, Captain Obvious, thanks for drawing that one. But, hey, it's on par with that. So if you would like The Incredibles, give this a watch. You can watch it with your kids.
Yes, I already told Donovan because I watched it by myself. I told him afterwards, I'm like, dude, you need to watch this because he'll like it. He'll just love it because the little kid is into dinosaurs. Yeah. So that's going to be just enough for him. But I think there's so many funny parts with just the family. And stuff I was laughing out loud at, and it really hit a lot of notes for me. Like I said, it may be so far it's early, but it may be the best film I've seen this year. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to what else is going to be coming out. But this one is going to be definitely, I think, stay at the top of the list. Maybe not the top, but near the top. It's just so good, and it's very rare that you get a movie like this. It reminds me of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's how I felt when I watched that movie in the theaters. Like I was like watching something kind of almost revolutionary, but it really isn't. It's just taking like adult storytelling and putting it into a kids movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's very emotional, but at the same time, you're still like, ooh, bright colors. So it's like, it's got everything for everybody. And I really, I wanted to review this one because I was reading so much on Twitter about people that love this movie and have watched it like 5 times already and resonate with the characters and the characters being, people being able to pick out the family. Oh, yeah, that's my dad, or that's my sister, or that's my brother, or that's my mother. It does feature a queer character as well, which is huge for a kids movie. It's not, it's not subtle, but it's also not like something that they blatantly talk about throughout the whole movie, but it's there. And I think you notice it in the beginning, and then they confirm it for you at the end. And it's who the main character is, and it's a part of her identity. Mm-hmm. And I think they handled it in a really great way. I do want to talk about, Wayne, too. You talk about these movies having to appeal to adults. The Kill Bill sequence set up at the end of the movie, people right now be like, Kill Bill? I'm like, yes. There's a Kill Bill action fight sequence with the mother at the end of the movie that is incredible. They use the music and everything. It works so fantastic. And this movie as a whole, I couldn't love this movie anymore, I don't think. I really recommend this one. I'll be honest, I didn't think this was going to be the one I was going to be touting going into this week because Army of the Dead was a huge, push this week because it just came out. But I prefer this one. So you can catch Army of the Dead and The Mitchells versus Machines on Netflix right now. Wayne, do you have any final thoughts on either one of those?
Yeah, overall, for the two movies that we had to watch, I can't say that I'm upset with either one. But yeah, Mitchells versus the Machines, definitely the more enjoyable of the two. Yeah. But I mean, it was close. Like we're talking,
they're both fun.
If it was a double feature at the drive-in, I would be.
That'd be awesome. First off.
Yep. Although we probably should have to switch around the order with which we watched it.
Yes.
We spoke about it.
Yes, exactly. We would have to.
All right, man. Let's. What we got coming up next? Some news and notes.
Yes, we're gonna go right to the news and notes this week. Well, heads up, what we're going to be reviewing next week will be a new Hulu movie called Plan B. So it's a new comedy. We'll be reviewing that next week. And we got some big heavy hitters coming up in June as the summer movie business gets on its way. But news and notes coming up. We have Lindsay Beer directing New Pet Sematary for Paramount. I don't know. I think it's supposed to be like a prequel because I know they just did a remake, so I think it's going to be a prequel. Attack the Block sequel with Joe Cornish and John Boyega is finally happening. Natalia Emmanuel and Garrett Hedlund are going to star in The Bride, which is a modern take on Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Jessica M. Thompson and written by Hellfest's Blair Butler. The Hunger remake in the works at Warner Brothers with Angela Robertson directing. That was a movie that starred David Bowie. It's a vampire movie. CBS moving Evil and SEAL team to Paramount Plus. Clarice being considered to either stay at CBS or move to Paramount Plus. Ron Moore, the creator of Outlander, is now bringing a Court of Thorns and Roses to TV. Batman and Superman animated series coming from J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves. Jenna Ortega cast as Wednesday Addams in Tim Burton's Addams Family Netflix live-action TV show, which will focus on Wednesday and her adventures. Chainsaw Confidential, a book written by the late Gunnar Hansen, who played the original Leatherface, is being turned into a movie. It will be a dark comedy about the making of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So as a horror fan, I'm really looking forward to that. Vampire Academy series coming from Vampire Diaries show creator Julie Plec. Surprise, surprise. It will air on Peacock. Bumblebee director Travis Knight is helming apocalyptic vampire film for Netflix. Share a biopic in the works from Mamma Mia team. Kate Hudson joins Knives Out too. She becomes the most recent cast member. Rebecca Ferguson to star in Wool, TV adaptation for Apple TV. It's something like futuristic novel or something like that. Amazon renews Rosamund Pike's led fantasy series adaptation of Wheel of Time before her first season is even done filming or airs. So that's good for that show. I know our buddy Manheim, he used to read the Wheel of Time books, so I'm sure he's looking forward to that. Injustice, Gods Among Us, the DC fighting video game, is getting its own animated straight-to-digital movie. And Batgirl movie is in the works again with Christina Hodson writing the script instead of the guy that did the Avengers movies. What's his name? Who did the No One Likes Him Anymore?
Joss Whedon?
Joss Whedon. Instead of Joss Whedon, who was originally writing Batgirl, but then is no longer attached to anything. Phantom, a modern-day Phantom of the Opera being written by Anthony McCartan, who wrote Bohemian Rhapsody, and produced by Scooter Braun. Henry Cavill is in talks to star in a new Highlander reboot. John Bernthal, Josh Charles, and Jamie Hector to star in We Own This City, limited series about gun trace task force in Baltimore from The Wire creator David Simon. New Predator movie apparently is in the works, rumored to have cast Amber Midthunder from Legion in the lead role. Movies coming out soon. The Ice Road with Liam Neeson hits June 25th. Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, which is an animated series on Netflix, will come out July 8th. R.L. Stein's Fear Street trilogy of movies will debut on Netflix July 2nd, 9th, and 16th. Godzilla Singular Point animated series debuts on Netflix June 24th. No Sudden Move from Steven Soderbergh debuts on HBO Max July 1st. Gunpowder Milkshake hits Netflix July 14th. Final season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine debuts August 12th. False Positive horror film from A24 hits Hulu June 25th. Monsters at Work debuts on July 2nd on Disney+. Death this week. We lost the great Paul Mooney, comedian, and one of my favorite comedic actors, Charles Grodin. If you haven't seen Midnight Run, people watch that movie. He is fantastic in that movie. That was a huge loss. 86, he had cancer. Sad to hear. Rest in peace to both of them.
Yep.
All right. For Wayne Yerke, I am Mike Kirkpatrick. Thank you for listening to Now Showing with Mike and Wayne.